70 to 80% of the country is protein deficient. Like in US, the per capita consumption is almost 88 kgs per person. In India, this is almost 7 kgs, which is negligible. So even if we double it down, that will still meet the $40 billion industry becoming 80 billion. We believe that, because we are, attempting a large TAM in front of us, growth for us, there's no limit to the growth which we can go to.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Know Your Promoter series, where we talk to promoters of companies which are bringing their IPO and try and understand from them the vision behind the company, what's the business plan of the company, and what's the usage of IPO proceeds. Today we have with us Mr. Deepanshu Manchanda, who is the CEO and promoter for DSM Foods, also known as Zappfresh popularly. The IPO for the company is coming from 26th to 30th of September. And we just wanted to congratulate you on that, Deepanshu. And maybe to start with, probably if you could give us some background into how did you start Zappfresh? What was the inspiration behind starting Zappfresh? And like, what is the current scale of the business? If you could just take like a couple of minutes in order to explain and set up context for people, that would be super helpful.
Great, Manish. Thank you. Love to be part of the discussion here. So we started in 2015. Prior to that, a little bit about me. I have been schooled in Delhi and come from a middle class background. Had big dreams and wanted to do something on my own in the longer run. So I started my corporate journey with Amex, Frito-Lay, some of the best brands. And quickly I realized that I need to get into the entrepreneur ecosystem as quickly as possible to gain that kind of know-how and nuances to how to build a business. So started my first venture in education, sold it off to a US-based e-learning company, and then went to healthcare and wellness, and then finally with MobiKwik, where I was talking with the founder of Grofers Blinkit, who was coming up with a new grocery app. And that's where we started really, identifying meat as a category. Out of it, what is the problem which they're facing? It is just a very random conversation, through which, I spotted, meat category being a very interesting problem solution, whatever they were doing. And we realized that as the consumer, there are problems where access to meat and reliability and trust is something which was missing as a buyer myself, where I couldn't know if I have to buy chicken or mutton or fish, where do I have to go? So the experience was broken from the customer end. From the supply chain end, Albinder was sharing his pains that how the local meat players do not really carry that kind of responsibility when it comes to price, quality, everything. And they're unable to really fix that supply chain gap. I think that was the light bulb moment, and from there we did more R&D. Went to the local mandi, spoke to a lot of customers, and we were sure that there is a lot of barriers and a lot of taboos and very unorganized market which needs attention and needs to be arrested. Somebody else will do it. It's a large market and a big opportunity in front of us, so we just grabbed it.
Understood, sir. Helpful. Can you also probably explain to us what is the current scale of business, and given the quality of meat is super important, what do you do in order to make sure that the sourcing is correct? What are the steps in place and do you do it in-house? Is it outsourced? That would be helpful if you could put some context on that.
Yeah, so we are doing about 130 crores as of last financial year with 9 crores of PAT. We are the only profitable D2C meat brand, and we are not entirely D2C. There is a business which is offline as well. So we are omni-channel in that way, and we are dealing in poultry, goat meat, fish and seafood. All the fresh category meats are part of our product basket. We work directly with the farmers, and there is a slaughterhouse in between who we work as a job work, and then we have our own processing units which take care of cleaning, packaging, deboning, its storage, etc. And from here, generally these are the mother processing units where we process, pack, and then distribute the material in 3 markets. We are currently in NCR, Bombay, and Bangalore. We've done 2 acquisitions in the last 2 years. And looking at few more in the coming times, eventually becoming a more diversified product portfolio and more penetrative in different geographies. Specifically, South is of great interest to us. So once we became profitable in one category, then we branched out and expanded to new markets. And so far, the growth will continue because you just unlocked the entire geographic expansion 2 years back. So it'll continue for us.
Deepanshu, I'll touch on your acquisition point. I think that's also an interesting one. I'll come to that. But before we get there, just wanted to check. So, there is a entire logistics when it comes to fresh meat, right? The meat has to stay fresh. So you might process it somewhere and then you have to ultimately get it to the end consumer. So how do you manage that logistics? Have you developed any sort of cold chain logistics yourself? Or, how
Yes.
important is that?
Rohit, it's absolutely paramount. The whole problem in the sector was of lack of cold chain. Actually, I think cold chain is one of the biggest problem, but I would say that cold chain is not the only problem. So you have to go to the farm and also understand the practices, what kind of feed they are giving to the birds, what infrastructure is there at the farm. There are many nuances from a farming point of view, which we look after, including antibiotic usage, etc. Then the other leg of quality is, the slaughtering bit, so how organized and automated the slaughtering plant is also is of great importance to us. So these parameters define the quality quotient, and then we come to the cold chain part of it, which is currently is all we have different reefer vehicles. There are cold rooms across all our plants, which ensure that there is regular monitoring of, temperature and reporting happening. We are also working on a technology which will be an AI imagery technology, which will be telling us how fresh the meat is. We'll first test it out internally and then we'll roll it out for the customers as well. So you click the picture of the meat and it'll just show you by the properties of the visual appeal of how it looks after an hour, how it looks after 2 hours. It is slightly complex because it requires a certain hardware also. So we are tinkering with it right now. But if we are successfully able to launch this, I think this will be industry first, and we'll be the pioneers to execute it.
Interesting, interesting. So this is something you will use for your own meat to check quality
Yes.
of your own meat, and you think you can also sell this as a product outside,
Yes. First, we'll check internally that
right?
how our internal teams are able to benefit from it. Once we feel confident, then we will extend the service at a premium for customers.
Understood. So just double clicking a little bit now on the consumer side, what are the touch points that you have with the customer?
So yeah, of course, as you rightly said, see, what we are focusing upon is not that we are available only on a particular distribution format. The idea is that the customer should see Zappfresh, everywhere, whether it is digital or whether it is offline. Wherever you go, you should be able to, see the brand, resonate with it, and then able to also access the entire product basket. So now one way is definitely online through our own properties, which is web and app. And then the other is we have partnered with some retail stores. Those are acting as our channel partners. Those are just in Bangalore as of now. We'll be scaling that format rapidly post our IPO as well. So in that format, what we are doing essentially is enabling meat shops to sell better, buy better, and come as a supply chain, evangelist who can really solve all their purchase problems and quality issues and all that. And then that benefit eventually will lead to their customers. Hence, we are looking at branding that entire experience at a local level with the help of this channel partner store. And then there are 300 plus restaurants and hotels who we are supplying to. Restaurants like Barbecue Nation Chain and Social and many other good credible names are buying from us. So essentially, we are catering to different types of markets. One is digital, which is still small and evolving, and largely 95% of the $40 billion industry is unorganized and offline. So we are attacking and arresting that market very seriously. We think there is enough which one can do in that domain, right from financial inclusion to digitization to many issues which are very perennial in the sector, has not been looked at before by anybody the way we are looking at it.
Interesting. So do you feel that online, because I mean, majority is offline and you guys are also going offline in a big way, do you feel there is some capping on the online side, or is it more just a diversification of the business?
So Rohit, we since the day one we were online, offline both. Okay, we haven't changed a bit. We did have a pause on offline in COVID because of COVID, but we've always believed that we are thinking ourselves as an FMCG brand, which has different distribution formats. in different markets, different categories operate differently. So think of us like a small ITC. Starts with tobacco and then gets into ready to eat and food products
Mm.
and chocolates and other complementing categories, but in the F&B space largely. So I think businesses in India are have to be looked more in a more Indian way rather than more global way. We've seen that play out now anyways, but I think we were always the believer of that. The
Mm.
industry and people ecosystem realizing later is something which has happened, but we think that India is an SME backed economy, so you have to work with the sector. Our approach is very collaborative both in the back end and in the front end, and we think that a mix and match approach where you are not relying on only one format and put
Right.
your eggs in every basket, and then scale that vertical where you feel more confident profitably, not from a point of view of any other metrics. So for us, the main metrics is what can be scaled easier, better, and also delivering profits. This is easier said than done. So essentially, it just is a constant obsession to work on only on formats which will reap long-term benefits, not short-term spurts.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think we've seen over the last few years many internet companies become offline, online, because I mean that trust is missing for the Indian consumer. Not everyone is ready yet, but good to see that this is how you're thinking about it. Let's talk a little bit about the two acquisitions that you have done. You've done a couple of acquisitions in two cities that are not your home city. Can you tell a little bit about it? What has that experience been? How do you intend to do? Is this how you plan to, scale to new cities going forward?
You've actually answered it, Rohit, yourself. These are not my home cities, okay, and that is the reason we have done those aqua hirings. In Delhi, we haven't done any acquisition yet because we understand the market. India is very diverse, and it's the business which we are in is very very hyper local. So the whole supply chain to the consumer behavior is very diverse, okay, and me sitting in one part of the country can never predict what somebody in Kerala will be eating in the lunch, right? It's very difficult because I'm myself not from that community, not that region. So the idea has been that we acquire people who are locally, positioned in those markets, understand those clusters, and also to some extent are, belonging to that market, for generations. So we do check that entire pedigree on, where the founder is from, because that generally flows in the project. So it is essentially worked out very well. Last two acquisitions, we've been able to accelerate growth, get easy access to the market, and then also get team members who are where we see there is a lack of expertise available in the country. Like not many people are meat experts. Even in hotel management, hospitality, if you go, there is no specialization of butchery. So this sector is somehow, forgotten sector, and where everything becomes a challenge, right? From hiring to raising capital, where we have certain set of investors who feel it as a taboo category. So, but essentially, India is 75% still non-vegetarian. So, there is a lot of this superstition and a lot of this, doglapan, what everybody says, is there, which is unfortunate. But we are trying to curb that by working with like-minded, entrepreneurs and individuals. That holds a lot of value. We believe in people a lot. So the center stage of our aqua hiring strategy is actually people. And if we find the right set of people, leadership who can grow the business in that region, I think that's a big check mark for us. Rest of the things, I think, from strategy and other metrics like financials, etc., for evaluations are definitely there. But I would give 60% to the people's strength.
Got it. I think, as you mentioned, it is an acqui-hiring kind of strategy. So you're not looking at hiring or bringing on a scaled business. You're trying to bring a small business with a good team. And this is a strategy you will follow going forward as well as you see opportunities.
Right.
Can you explain some of your numbers as well? We've already touched on the revenue and the PAT, but can you talk a little bit about your, some of your customer metrics, some of your repeat metrics, your CAC, how you value LTV, and so on, especially from the, for the online part of your business?
Right. So about 30% of our business last year was offline, 70% was online. This year, we are looking at about 50-50 because there is penetration in retail, which we are, expanding towards. Overall, from a, marketing CAC point of view, we have about 300,000 registered customers with us, and almost 50% of them are active. We see each customer buying about 2.5 to 2.7 times a month. And the CAC is around 250 to 300 rupees. Average order value is 600 rupees, 640 actually. So yeah, that's overall, we have a retention rate of about 88% on a monthly basis. So after a year, it drops to about 50%, 55%. So that's a broad metric which we see in the marketing part of the online business. Now, on the distribution side of it, a chunk of our business comes from hotels, restaurants, supplies, and these meat retail partner store project is new, so which will also grab some market share and also build some revenue contribution as well.
And is there any seasonality in this business?
There is absolutely. Winters are coming for us, so we are winter product cycle from October, November, December, January, February. Celebrations, winters, people eat more. In summers, there is mortality rate. Then there are Shrats, Navratras. All of that. Is definitely there in the business. But it's also very, again, geography level. In some geographies, some festival is there. So, for example, in West Bengal, people are eating fish in Navratra. So, slightly difficult to predict because, again, of this local, hyper local, unorganized nature of the business. But essentially, I think per capita wise, India still eats very less. We are, I don't know if you're aware, 70 to 80% of the country is protein deficient. Okay, so and the new age customer, in my view, is more protein friendly and looking at being more active and healthy. Hence, we see that the per capita consumption, meat consumption, supposed to go higher. Like in US, the per capita consumption is almost 88 kgs per person. In India, this is almost 7 kgs, which is negligible. So even if we double it down, that will still meet the $40 billion industry becoming 80 billion, though it's growing at 11% year on year. But there are a lot of factors which will really boost consumption in this space. And one of being will be health. So, and we are also focusing a lot on health and responsible way of farming and best practices, what we can adapt for our customers and markets. So essentially, this is a very, agri-led momentum which we have started, which is going to be catering to, a population which has been craving for standardized, decent quality meat.
Got it. I'll ask one last question from my side and then hand it to Manish. Can you just touch a little bit upon the competition? There are obviously a couple of larger unlisted companies in this space, especially in the context of price, like where you stand, plus any other thing that you do to differentiate from them.
So yeah, first of all, we look our competition with the local players more because they are the guys who are having the chunk of the market, since we are operating in online, we would look at what, marketplaces really are not our competition because they are generally aggregators. The quality control is very limited and they face many other challenges. So that makes me come to the usual other competitors, which is, some of the best brands in the market. They've raised large amount of capital in the private space. But I think that, from a point of view of the growth, there has been not that, positive momentum which they've been able to continue. And that is where there is something maybe missing in that market strategy. We believe that, because we are attempting a large TAM in front of us, growth for us, there is no limit to the growth which we can go to, because we are looking at the value based customer who is looking at more affordable pricing. So our prices vis-a-vis some of the other online players will be almost 15% lower, 10 to 15% lower, and we would be slightly higher than a local meat shop, which will be approximately 15 to 20%. So that's where we stand in terms of pricing. We would want to be more on the affordable side. But because we are, adding enough value in the value chain, there is a certain price premium which will be definitely there. But it can't be something which will be drastic where the customer, feels a pinch. We are very cautious on that from a pricing strategy point of view.
Understood. That's very clear. Manish?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rohit. So, Deepanshu, just a couple of questions from my end. First, I saw that you have been growing at a very good CAGR of around 32% over the last 3 years. Can you just help explain to our viewers what have been those triggers which has helped in terms of those growth, and essentially how sustainable do you think is this growth? Where do you see the business going over the next 3 years? And you don't need to give us numbers because I understand that you have regulations of not giving forward-looking statements, but whatever you can give in terms of just the trajectory of the business would be helpful.
So, Manish, we also had a muted growth in 2021, 22. And then when we had the playbook ready, where we saw that, okay, now we know what are the right costs on which we can scale and operate. That is when we acquired our first Bangalore acquisition. And then we did Mumbai. So last 2 years, the growth coming on the back of these acquisitions where they have added to that entire scheme of things of revenue growth. And as I said that, the way we are operating, revenue numbers are not going to be a challenge at all. I don't think that is going to be a problem at all in our space and in the strategy which we are following. So geographic expansion is one lever for growth, which has just started in for us. And Bombay itself is 1 year old. Bangalore is just 2 years old. So hardly 2 years, I would say maybe just 18 months old. So that ways we believe that we're just getting started from a growth point of view. We took time to build supply chain, to fine tune a lot of gaps, in the market, understand the behavior, everything. And then once we understood that, we were like, okay, now there's no stopping. So I would say that, for us to keep growing at a significant growth rate will not be a surprise, at least for me, because I can see, a very large universe in front of me. And with a lot of, people moving towards online and even offline getting branded, there is no stopping.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Dipanshu. And probably one last message that you have for the potential investors who are looking to invest in your company right now. Anything that you want to leave them with while we try and wrap up the interview?
I think, yeah, that's so. I would just repeat what I just said that, for us, growth is a very conscious move because of the size of the market. We are never worried that we will be able to achieve growth numbers, revenue numbers or not. We are more conscious on a more stable approach. So investors who are looking for a long-term stable returns should definitely come. Short-term spurts is something which, as a strategy, we don't follow. Unless we see value, we don't grow. But, considering we've spent significant time in the trade, understand the market also, and build some seasoned teams in different markets, we are actually more than ready to put that accelerator mode. So I think basis that everything should follow, all good things should follow with growth. And I think we are very ready. So investors who are looking for a long-term investment should definitely join us.
Sure, sure. Growth is life, and then winter is coming, as Game of Thrones would say it, and your season is around. So, with that, we'll, sir, take your leave and wish you all the best for your IPO. It was a pleasure talking to us today. All the best.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Rohit. That is great having you.